Welcome to the Unapologetic MidLife Podcast. I'm your host, Mindi Lobuzzetta, and I am here today with our guest, Amy Patrick, who is the Midlife Muscle Mentor, holistic nutrition and strength and conditioning coach. And she works with women 40 plus through high touch virtual one-on-one coaching. And her signature programs are Lifted and Fuck the From. Welcome, Amy.
Mindi, thank you so much for having me. I love these conversations that you're igniting. I love the name of your podcast because at
Thank you.
midlife, we should be a little bit audacious, as you can tell by the names of my programs, and a little bold. You and I are very passionate that women are not designed to settle, shrink, be silent at this stage of life. This is our time to come forward with some energy and some confidence. And that is really my passion, is to help women just ignite that in themselves at this stage of life.
I love it. I love it. No, I'm very excited to have you on here today. And I feel like people are going to have lots of questions. And I think that the services that you offer are huge because midlife, it comes in like a freight train.
That's the
and
kind way to say it.
slaps you silly. So let's just dive right in. What exactly is it that you do? I hear high touch virtual one-on-one coaching. What is it?
And this has kind of evolved, right? For many of us at this stage of life, we've worn many hats. We've gone through many iterations. So I've been in the health and wellness industry, Mindi, for about 16 years.
Wow.
And that kind of all started from having my own health issues as I dealt with pregnancy, nursing,
Okay.
and got very depleted. And then looking back at patterns, knowing how food was impacting my body, how certain exercise was impacting my body. So decided to kind of I was in communications and PR, so completely shifted paths in order to deal with my own health issues and went a very holistic route, completely transformed my health as far as cured chronic asthma, allergies, acne, gut digestive issues, just really using holistic food and lifestyle means. So this whole passion erupted for that. Definitely. And then from there, my love of fitness, I got certified as a personal trainer, group fitness, and started teaching a lot of workshops and helping women to kind of just get out of diet culture, where instead of we use food to shrink and just to lose weight, how we can really use food to heal at a root cause level. So that was really where this, kind of career trajectory came from. I had my own studio. We went through COVID, which was very interesting times. And then I turned 40 and did not understand. I was in the health and wellness industry, but did not understand what changes that would bring and how what worked in my 20s, 30s, and even in the early 40s was not going to work the same as I went through my 40s. And now I turned 50 this year. So those techniques, and I'm sure many of your audience, you can relate, the dieting, the lower calories, the over cardio, the HIIT, the not focusing on sleep and recovery just starts to compound. And I was starting to feel puffier and inflamed, my body composition. I kept trying to cut calories and diet more. And then I was teaching 13 fitness classes a week, doing my own workouts, not having a rest day. All the things now that I was like, for a perimenopausal woman, that is like putting the brake on constantly. So that's when I did a deep dive. I'm like, what is going on? I'm always a root cause person, right? I don't want a quick fix. I want to understand my body. I want to get to the root cause so that I can address it proactively.
Yes.
And started just doing that deep dive into perimenopause, really getting to understand that it wasn't that I was doing anything wrong. It's really that the whole game had changed, right? Physiology has changed for us. So we just need to shift our strategy. So I became obsessed with finding the strategy. And from there, it really just evolved where now I shut down my brick and mortar fitness studio. And really wanted to expand my reach so I could help more women. And I do high level, meaning very customized one-on-one coaching, meaning I want to meet you where you're at. I want to give you the tools, the workouts, the food that you enjoy that fit your schedule, but that are also going to up level to get you to your goals. So my focus is not, okay, let's shift your whole life around this program, but let's get these program tenants for women over 40 to come in and support your life and feel doable and fun and
Yes.
energizing. So I really enjoy working with one-on-one clients. I have clients, which I'm so thankful for now, kind of all over the country.
Wow.
I was just doing check-ins before we got on our call today, and it just brings me so much joy to have that connection and to really be part of women's lives. So that is one aspect of what I do. And we do
Okay.
strength training, we do nutrition work. And honestly, so much of it is lifestyle based, meaning your nervous system. Where are we
Hmm.
with our nervous system?
Yep.
Our stress management, our sleep, all of the things that aren't the sexy fun, like, oh, I want that meal plan and I'm going to do this workout, but we need to have the foundation set. So that was a real game changer for me in my 40s, is really prioritizing those things and not shoving them down or being like, oh, everybody's stressed right now. And it's normal to feel wired and tired all the time and revved up.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. And then I also have my signature program Lifted, which is a huge passion of mine. And that's like a hybrid program where I work with a group. So there's that sense of community, but
Okay.
also you get the one-on-one support to meet your strength training needs and your nutrition needs. And then, of course, you mentioned, which I think the name still just makes me laugh, but it is Fuck the Frump, because so often it's just like all the memes and the jokes and social media and TV and movie that perimenopausal or menopausal women are just seen as kind of crazy, right? Where
Yep.
we're
Yep.
having a hot flash and we're just kind of bouncing off the wall and we're
Hair
chaotic,
is wild. Like, yeah.
kind of weird outfit.
Yeah.
So I don't want women to feel like that has to be a reality, or that is something that you have to accept.
Hmm.
That there are things you can do and tweak to feel really good at this stage of life and optimize now we're having, like, for me, I became an empty nester this year. Both of my boys are in
Okay.
college.
Okay.
And so I have a little bit more time for not only myself, but my marriage. So how do I want to approach that? I want to feel very good in my own skin. I want to have energy, because now is some time when I can reflect back on me.
Hmm.
And if we
Yep.
don't have that energy or support to do that, it becomes kind of honestly depressing. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard that from a lot
Yep.
of your guests.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I feel like entering this phase of life because it's going back to that same old saying of like I don't feel like myself. I'm
Mhm.
more stressed out. Nothing has changed in my life, but I've changed. And it's like, well, yes. Or I'll
You
make the
have.
comment of like, welcome to perimenopause. Like I'm gonna give you that welcome. Yes, you're shifting, but there's things that can be done. So you're saying the foundational things, the sleep, the food. I like to add into it's our generation because I'll be 48 this year in 3 months. I came from that long and lean. Like, let's cardio till our face falls off. For me,
Mhm.
I know I mentioned your arms or arm goals for me. I do weight training. I never used to do weight training, something that was on my radar. So, how is that with women in our generation?
It's definitely a mindset shift.
Okay.
And you'll see, if you follow me on social media, I often poke fun at Pilates, Peloton, and 3-pound weights. And I do it with love. And those things are wonderful, but that's the fun icing on the cake, right? Like, your foundation has to be your strength training at this stage of life. I view muscle as longevity. So the more
Yes.
muscle you have on your body as you age, the better quality of life you're going to have, hands down. To do that at this stage of life, we need to pick up the weight. I always, like I said, meet my clients where they're at. So if you haven't weight trained in 2 years, I'm not going to start you with 40-pound weights in your hands, right?
Yes. Yes.
But it's so cool for me to see some of the women I've worked with because of my studio and now doing virtual. Some women I've worked with for 10 years. So their strength has honestly increased tenfold over those 10 years, because my philosophy has now shifted from the long and lean,
Mm-hmm.
where every woman is like, oh, I don't want to get bulky. I want to
Yeah.
tone.
Yeah.
Well, here we are, ladies. Let me just tell you,
That's a,
toning is muscle.
yeah.
And in order to build muscle, you have to put a stimulus on the muscle fiber. And why do we need to do that more in our 40s? Well, because estrogen, our friend estrogen gets such a bad rap, but
It
estrogen
does.
is everything. So in our 20s and 30s, we don't really have to do a whole lot to maintain kind of a fit physique, look like we worked out. You could pick up some 5-pound weights and go on the treadmill, do some rollerblading. That was our era.
Yep. Yep.
And some Billy
All of it.
Blanks, VHS, wasn't
Yep.
DVDs, VHS.
Yep.
And we could look very fit, but that's because there's estrogen receptors all through our body, including in our muscles. So estrogen does the job of contraction. So you needed very little stimulus in order to have more of a muscular fit physique.
Okay.
As estrogen starts to fluctuate and then ultimately decline, we need to put that stimulus on our own muscles. And also, we're fighting sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle as we age. So, not only are we fighting that, but then we don't have enough estrogen to stimulate the muscles themselves. So, we kind of have to fight that double whammy and consistently pick up some weights. And for my cardio queens, I often just say we just have to shift. I have a lot of endurance athletes come to me,
Okay.
or women who are not used to picking up heavier weights yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it really becomes embrace that inner athlete by seeing yourself progress in the weights you can lift and how good and empowering that feels. So just like you might train for a half marathon, now you're training for life. You're training because in your
Okay.
80s, you want to take your carry-on and shove it up into
Yep.
that bin
Yep.
yourself. And I want to rock a bathing suit in my 80s on the beach. I want to be able to get up and down off the ground with my grandkids. I want to travel. I want to have independence. Honestly, Minnie, I want to remember my kids' names.
Yes.
And muscle and how you process glucose is very related to your brain health and your mental acuity. So all of this is so interconnected for aging and longevity.
Yep.
Plus, you want to feel good now too, right?
Yep.
You want to look like you work out. Every woman that says, I'm doing what I always did, it's not working anymore. I don't feel like I recognize my body, where I'm carrying my weight, and I work out all the time and I don't look like I work out. And that's
that is
extremely frustrating for women.
Yes. What happens then, right? So they're maybe working out 4 or 5 days a week, but they're not seeing results. What then? I feel like I was there myself, and you'll be happy to know I've just upped my 25-pound dumbbells.
Yes, girl, I love it.
Which is a huge increase in, 2 years ago, my 10-pound dumbbells.
That's phenomenal.
But you start to see the fruits of your labor and you start to get excited. But for those women who are not seeing the outcomes that they want, what then? Also, dare I mention your little announcement, your peptides that you're diving into? That's a whole layer of this I'd love to hear about.
Thank you, for
You're
sure.
welcome.
That's just all those good questions right off the bat.
Sorry.
Let's dive into first, Mindy, if you're good with it. We'll talk about what if you're not seeing results? You're working out, you're not seeing results. A couple things there. Number one is often women are doing kind of random workouts where we're going to follow someone on YouTube and then I'm going to do this Instagram workout and then I'm going to do something I saw in a magazine and then what my coworker's doing. And we're always changing it up. And that style, yes, you're moving, you're getting your heart rate up, you are still being active with the weights, but there's not a system. And so we really, at this stage of life, need a system. And I refer to that as phases. So I like to work my clients through 4-week phases. And progressive overload is that really key element, meaning, so let's say you work out 3 times a week. The first week, you're going to do those 3 workouts. The next week, you do those same 3 workouts. And then for 4 full weeks, you're doing the same workouts. Now, that's kind of a new philosophy for a lot of women because they're used to going to group fitness. And this is where I came from, right? Group fitness. Every workout is different. You don't track anything. You just go pick up the weights you've always used. But with the progressive overload phase, you are getting used to the moves and seeing where you're at the first week. Second week, you might try to lift maybe one exercise a little heavier, or slow down, or work on your form. I work with the clients a lot on tempo, we're going to lower the weights for a 3 count, and then we drive for a 1 count. So that's another way to overload the muscle without necessarily always going heavier. So this progressive overload technique can be heavier weights. It can be slowing down your reps. It could be adding little half lifts. It could be
So
adding
like you're talking
isometric hold.
like
Yes.
pulses and okay, yep,
So
okay.
technique, right? But that's very purposeful. One of my favorite things to do is plan workouts because there's so much intention and planning behind it because I want to progressively overload the muscle. And sometimes you can't always, like if you're doing a lateral shoulder raise, we can't always jump up and wait on that
No,
exercise,
that's
but we
probably
can add a pause at the top.
yep.
We can add a half lift. And so there's the progressive overload. And then you're tracking the weights that you're using so that by week 4, you're like, wow, I started at 10 pounds and now I'm doing 20 pounds in that exercise for the same amount of reps. Or maybe you increase your reps or your form is better. So that's where we ignite that inner athlete cardio queen again, because
Mhm.
you're seeing the progress in tracking and having a plan. And then when we kind of get to that 4th week, which I call like the main event week, then you start in a new phase. So there's that excitement and newness, but you're still seeing so much progress. And this is where I've seen women shift their body composition dramatically. Because
Yeah.
honestly, Mindy, most women don't come to me being completely sedentary, honestly. Most women come in going to group fitness or trying something at home or doing a Peloton workout. So most women that come to me are not sedentary, but they're just frustrated because they're not seeing the results. And then the second part of that equation, I would say, is your nutrition. So often as women, we have been used to cutting calories. Cut, cut, cut. So if I want to lose weight, I've got to eat less.
Yep.
And I will be honest with you, that
That
does
was
not
me.
work so well in our
Yep.
40s and beyond. And I'm not saying we don't do cut phases or deficit phases, but then we work our way back out of that in a reverse diet where we slowly increase our calories as we're coordinating that with our strength training. And that's when women are like, holy shit, I have so much energy. My lifts are amazing. You're not bonking in the gym. You feel, a lot of times women will do their workout and it wipes them out for the rest of the day. They
Yeah,
have
you've
no energy. They're
expended. Yeah.
starving. They're sore all the time. That's a sure sign that your nutrition's a little off. As women, again, it's very commonly out there now on social media, but protein, right? We need to make sure we're getting enough protein. And that goes back to the building of the muscle recovery and preserving your muscle. And that, the amino acids that are the building blocks of protein are the building blocks of your muscles. So for women, often the calories, even if they have their calories at a good place, the balance across where they're getting those calories from is often very carb heavy and very protein low. So that's one of the main things I work with women on too, is how do we get our protein up slowly and strategically? Because if you jump from like 60 grams of protein to 120, you're not going to be very happy with me because your digestive system is going to freak out.
Be
But so we
screaming
work
at
on
you.
that
Yep.
slowly. And then how do we do that without, there's always the joke of the bodybuilders like gnawing on a chicken breast in the middle of the day. Like that's not what I'm saying either. But we just slowly bump up what we're already eating. And that's where it's like a puzzle. I like to work with women on putting that puzzle together. And then
I think nutrition is a huge aspect of it too, because even though we're in our 40s, I know women are having kids later and later. I've got, 10 and 11-year-olds, and when they're here, they don't necessarily eat the way I want to eat, but nobody wants to cook 5,000 meals. So you help with the nutrition aspect and integrate. I don't know if you're given recipes or if you're okay. That's
that's
so
such a
helpful.
great point too, Mindy, is that when you're cooking for a family,
Yes.
or, and again, the women that you and I talk to, busy, right? We're busy women. We're managing children, households, aging parents, busy, demanding
Yep.
careers, and then all of the logistics of the household. So that's something that I really try to be very cognizant of because I'm the same way that, okay, let's batch prep and here's some ideas.
Yes.
Okay, once we have the components, this is what you can put together for a meal. How can we get a grab and go breakfast out the door if we need
Yep.
it, but still set the foundation of the protein?
Yes.
So simple, easy ways. I am not a like 10 ingredient recipe girl.
No, give
It
me
just
the
doesn't
bare
work right now.
minimum to make it
Yeah.
taste good and be beautiful.
Exactly. And then also thinking about convenience items. Okay, where can I balance my whole foods, but also pull in some convenience things? Or if I am going out to eat or take out, what would be my best options? So to make it livable, that's something that I do pride myself on is trying to be a coach who is realistic and kind of gets it because, we can follow anything for 8 to 12 weeks. But then we've all done it, these crazy random diets where we
Yep.
don't really enjoy what we're eating or it
Nope.
takes so much time. And then what happens at the end of the 12 weeks, we revert right back to where we were. And then that really impacts our mindset. It impacts our body. So my ultimate goal is that you don't need me anymore because you've built a lifestyle. And one of my favorite phrases, Mindy, is that when we have some structure and some devotion to this process, that equals freedom because
Yeah.
then you are the woman who can go on vacation and eat normally, not
Yep.
track. Have
Yep.
fun, enjoy for whatever it is for you. If it's a glass of wine, gelato, bread, pasta. And I've had women who this year they went to Italy and one was Italy in a cruise. They literally, they did not do their strength training while they were away. They were active and walked, pretty much ate and drank what they
Yep.
enjoyed. They were mindful, still intentional, packed some protein things. They each came back and lost weight. That is because they put the work, they made the investment all year
Yep.
long, and then that's freedom.
Yep.
You can go
I
and
love
enjoy a
it.
vacation or the holidays or dinners out where you're not having to just monitor every single bite because again, that's not joyful
Right.
and
It's
that
not
gets
maintainable either,
it's
right? If you're
unmaintainable.
not finding some joy in there to have the things or have that special occasion glass of wine if that's your choice or that
Oh,
special occasion gelato. Yeah, that freedom to be able to have a trip. And cuz some people will stress, "Oh my god, I'm on vacation and I'm not going to get my protein shake or I'm not going to get this or this." And really should 10 days or 2 weeks make a difference in the grand scheme of things if you're on target most of the time.
exactly. It's kind of the same analogy like we're all thinking retirement right at this stage of life and hopefully we've made little investments into our retirement accounts because then that'll give us some safety and security as
Yep.
we stop working to
Yep.
maintain a quality of life. Same thing with your health. Your daily choices, number one, 100% impact how you're going to experience perimenopause and menopause, hands down, your
Yep.
daily choices. And then your daily choices will impact how you age and your quality of life once we get into retirement years and beyond. So our daily choices now are like making an investment in your Roth IRA.
Yep. I mean, I think about this is it's like you're saying, it's making an investment in yourself each day to try to stay on track. And I think the other part of this is you can't have small gains every day. There's something called habit stacking that I've learned about, right? Where you're applying those new things that you want to create a habit doing on top of the other things that you've already got down, like brushing your teeth, putting your shoes on, getting dressed. Like, you know, how can you make these changes stick and make them doable? And you're saying having fun, that's a part of it. That's what they say, make
Mhm.
it fun.
I love that, Mindy. And habit stacking is a word I'll use often with clients too, because just like anything, if it's new, it's going to be a little uncomfortable at first. So let's try to set ourselves up for success by incorporating anything new and attaching it to something we already do. Because again, we make way too many decisions a day to have to feel like that's why I'm not a fan of willpower. Willpower is going to fail you at some point. It's just
Yep.
white knuckling your way through life, basically. So let's set up systems, again, back to the systems. And that's where having these conversations, having a coach for support and accountability can be just a strong push in the right direction too. But things like water first thing in the morning, that's a huge one for me. Instead of grabbing your coffee first, get some water in. And it's so great for your skin. You're detoxifying, rehydrating after your body worked on detoxification all night, boosting your energy. So I'll say, okay, right as you get up, either have a glass of water right by your nightstand, or that's the first thing you do when you go downstairs, water before coffee. Then if you're going to brush your teeth in the morning, hopefully, then let's
Yep.
do some gratitude. That's again, trying to get this nervous system work built in. I am not one where I'm not going to sit and meditate for 30 minutes every day because that does not feel realistic for my life. I will, however,
Okay.
sit in the morning and I might put on a guided meditation that's 2 minutes, and I'll do that
Yep.
right as I drink
Yep.
my water. So we have to kind of recognize that there's no perfect in any of this, but you mentioned it, it's consistency. So I call it like a menu. You might have your menu of nervous system activities or a morning routine. Maybe that's not getting on your phone right away. Maybe that's your water. Maybe that's just a moment of gratitude or prayer or meditation or whatever feels that grounds you. We want to start our day for us. We don't want the world to start our day for us, basically.
And you're
So,
setting the tone. So what
yeah,
you expose yourself to
exactly.
first thing in the morning sets the tone for the day.
It's like, what pair of glasses are you going to put on that filters your lens of your day? So 100%. But we can do that without totally rearranging our lives. It's honestly being more intentional with your time. Because how many of us, if we checked our phones right now, how much time are you on social media? How much time are you on your phone scrolling? And when we're a little more intentional with our time, it can just reap these big rewards. So consistency, habit stacking, and that can be with too, like before you go to bed, set out your workout clothes and have your water bottle filled if you want to do your workout in the morning. Just these little things, but again, when you do them over time, it just becomes second nature. You don't even think about it anymore. It just becomes who you are and what you do.
Look forward to it. Like I've had people
Right.
say, well, working out isn't my thing. And I'm like, I have never pushed myself to go on that walk, like with my weighted vest, or to go into the basement and get that 20 minutes in, or whatever it is that I have set up for that day, and been like, wow, I really wish I didn't do that. Like I
You
always
know what?
have the thought of like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. I feel so much better. I've checked that off the list and I feel good about it. I think that's
I
what it's
love
about.
that. And you kind of have to connect with that future self. When you're laying in bed and hitting snooze, okay, how is this choice going to feel in an hour, 24 hours, 6
Exactly.
months? And kind of connect with that future self. And you know you're going to feel better. And we then have to use that for action. I don't like, relying on motivation either, because that ebbs and flows, especially in perimenopause, right? Our cycles
Yeah.
can be very erratic, and that might impact our moods. So when we have these systems built, the habits, the support, the coaching, the consistency, it takes willpower and motivation right out of the picture. We rely on those habits. So I think with everything that you're saying is so true that we have to kind of connect and set ourselves up for success, connect with how we want to feel and set
Yeah.
ourselves up for success. And I always say too, like, okay, if I've got a 30-minute workout planned for you, just say to yourself, I'm going to do it for 10 minutes. If you're having one of those
Start
days,
small.
yeah.
Yep.
And then do it for 10 minutes. And that's great. 10 minutes is way better than nothing. And so we kind of have to get out of that all or nothing thinking. And I don't know about you, Mindy, but that is definitely where I would tend to lean more, my personality, perfection. And again, a lot of high driven,
Achieving. Yep.
achieving women. This is our mindset. All or nothing. And I think midlife is not as forgiving of that. We need to find more grace with ourselves, more positive self talk, and ways to just kind of find our way without having to do everything 110%.
I mean, I think a 70% day, 70% effort is better than no effort.
Built over time, especially, right?
Yeah. There's a book. I have not read the book, but I've heard of this person on a lot of podcasts, The Atomic Habits. And
Oh my
that's
God,
who
I
talks
just
about,
quoted. Yes.
yep, that's the habit stacking. That's the system. I hear you talking about it. So I'm like, she's
So
probably read
funny. I
it
just
or heard
quoted
about
that
it.
to some
But
clients
that's what this is
yesterday.
about. 1%. He gave the example of like, okay, before you go to bed, if you decide to read for 10 minutes, you're not going to necessarily be that much smarter the next day. But 10 minutes over time could be really valuable, and you can learn a lot in that, especially over time. So I think of our habits of that 10 minutes a day. There was a point where I used to go on my walks when perimenopause was starting. That was my release. Let me go on like a 4.5 mile walk. Well, if I couldn't get that 4.5 mile in, I found myself avoiding it. And I finally had to have that hard truth of like, okay, why am I avoiding this? I know I enjoy this. What is it about my mindset that's preventing me from getting any walk in? Well, I was fixated on that 4.5 mile, that distance. I had to shift it. How much time do I have today? Okay, I got an hour. That means that's my hour for my lunch, and maybe I can get a 20-minute walk in. Great. Let's see what I can get in 20 minutes. So I had to shift my mindset to what can I do today and what is doable and what is going to help me push through mindset wise to get to that goal of at least getting something in. So I feel like exactly what you do is that mindset, and you help women shift that mindset and make this doable. That's
I love
great.
that example, Mindy. It's so powerful. It's so true. And I'll be honest, unless I have like an endurance athlete I'm training, I don't program 60-minute workouts anymore. That would, when I was a
Too
group fitness
long.
instructor, 60 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's too long. And if we're going to work and progressive overload, you don't need that long.
Nope.
You
Nope.
really don't. So I try to make the workouts very efficient, very effective. You might be swearing at me a little bit in between,
All
but they're
good.
feeling amazing. And it's about what we can do. Like, let's shift the focus. You said it beautifully. What can I do today? What time do I have? And let's look at it in that vantage point, because it really does all build up and you will feel so much better. And then it just keeps that momentum going.
Yeah. And I think something important to note is that hundreds of years ago, we moved. We had to move.
Mm.
We have modern day advancements with comforts. We essentially live in like captivity. That was one of my favorite things quoted in a podcast I listened to, multiple probably. And we don't have to like work for things. I mean, crap, if we want dinner, we can call and we can have it delivered, right? Like there are so many conveniences in the world, but the problem with the conveniences is it takes out aspects of life that we need. We need movement. We need to feel good about something. And if everything's just catering towards us, we don't have necessarily things to feel good about.
That's a deep level, like point of view. Something too that goes hand in hand with that. We don't need the connection anymore either, because you can just pick up your phone and get food delivered to you. You don't have to you don't have to have a conversation. You don't have to make eye contact with people. And that is something that I think our soul is missing out on.
We need connection.
And
Yeah.
that's why I love that you are hosting this podcast and having these conversations, because as women, I think we can feel very isolated at this stage of life. I would mention empty nesting. Well, a lot of
Yeah.
our social life time, both of my boys were in travel sports and our friends were the parent groups, right? That's who we spent time with, we traveled with. And now all of a sudden that's like, oh, okay, what do
Non-existent.
we do
Yeah.
now? And we need to be able to take this stage of life and have real, genuine conversation about life and these deeper things and how we feel and what our goals are, and then connect with like-minded people. For me personally, going out to a bar right now, not at all appealing. And that is where I want to meet people who care about their health and want to live the most intentional life possible. And I'm not saying there's not fun in, different ways that we can
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
outlets for that. But what are your values? How do you want to spend your time? How do you want to spend your days? What's important to you and to your partner and to your family? And then let's live that. Let's talk about it. Before you and I got on our recording, we were talking about that. You have such a passion for bringing some bright energy to this world. And I think that's so valuable. And as women, we need to bring that, because we run our households. Let's be honest, right?
You're
Our
the glue.
women, moms, we steer the ship. And if we're not feeling good in our bodies, if we're, having no energy, we're not sleeping well, we're eating things that are going to just continuously crash our blood sugar, we are not going to be able to be present and grounded and really take part in our own lives. And to me, that's just so important. I want to live a quality life as I age. And so
Yes.
I'm kind of circling back, but my choices now impact that. So those are the people I want to spend time with who get.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I don't know. It's funny because going through like everything I went through, if you would have told me like midlife, I'd be doing the things that I'm doing now and living my life the way I'm living it now. Years ago in my 20s, I was going out. I was busy chasing a social life. I mean, I had FOMO. You couldn't catch me home on a Friday. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a Friday, like all to
Yeah.
myself. Like I can get that walk in, or, I don't know. It's just, I'm really enjoying this phase of life. And that's my hope for women and men too, right? I know we're specifically talking about women, but men too, like life is not over. It might come with a shift and it might look different, but I don't think it has to be any less enjoyable. I just think it's, like you said, intentional. My word of the year, I love this. My word of the year is attentive. Like I want to be attentive with like needs or where I'm focusing my energy or how I'm having conversations. I want to hone in and really sharpen that skill set of connection and who do you give your time to, right? I think that that's really, really important. I'm hearing too, people are having like shifts as they're entering midlife. Well, my friendships look different. And I'm like, yeah, this is, this is what happens. You might not necessarily have the same thing in common with those people that you did in your 20s. And as some of you start to have families and you start to be in different stages of life with your kids, there's going to be some shifts, but it doesn't have to be bad. And it's learning to navigate. I think that as a woman, as a mom, like you mentioned, pregnancies, what does that look like? So often mothers think that they have to set aside their personal care because they're a mom now. And it's like, you have time. You have 20 minutes to figure this out. Like, or not 20 minutes to figure it out, but you have 20 minutes of time that you can do something that's going to help you feel a little bit better.
And when you feel a little bit better, trust me, your partner and your kids are going to feel a little bit better. It's the analogy. We've all heard it a million times, but what do you do first? You put the oxygen mask on yourself and then put it on others. And you can't pour from an empty cup. All of the analogies. It's kind of this feeling of guilt, people pleasing, putting our own needs last. And I think what can be very powerful at this stage of life is we can just let that go. We can release a lot of that. And then that you mentioned it beautifully about energy, right? Like, what am I going to, attentiveness? I love that word. What am I going to let in? And also, what am I going to keep out?
Yeah.
So we set these boundaries and we can really protect our energy in so many different ways. And one strong way, of course, that I believe is how we fuel ourselves with what we choose to eat and how we choose to move and how we choose to rest. And all of those things will then ripple out into the world, and it starts in your family and then your community and then out because we're so connected through social
Yeah.
media. But what are we really putting out there on social media? And that's why having people like you, Mindi, who are bringing in real, genuine, authentic conversation, getting kind of vulnerable. And this is what's really going on, not this influencer who lost 50 pounds and we don't really know why. And now she's promoting this brand of jeans. And that just makes us feel worse, honestly.
Real people and real stories I think that's what fuels purpose. And I think we all need that in some capacity, right? Somebody goes through something hard in life and they're depressed. I was depressed for many years and I had to switch gears. I had to get honest with myself. I had to make changes and I had to kind of do that deep dive into my own stuff and really examine what was it that I was lacking, because I can't look for that in something else. And if you're looking for it externally, you're going to be sadly mistaken. There are wonderful things in the world. I love to travel. It brings me a lot of joy. But does it bring consistent peace or calmness to my life? No. Those are the things we look forward to. So I will say this, happiness is an inside job. If you're looking for that validation in other people, you're never going to be happy inside because it's got to come from within. So to me, it's doing the hard things. It's making the changes. It's getting up when you don't want to get up. It's saying no to maybe those Friday night plans because maybe you need to get a good night's rest. It's not overextending yourself. It's prioritizing. And, no one else is going to take care of you if you don't take care of you.
Girl, that was just beautifully said. So beautifully said. And I would totally agree with everything there. And that's where I feel like this stage in 40s and beyond can feel almost like you're wearing a coat that is way too tight now because it's just uncomfortable. It's scratchy. It's itchy. It's because our identity is shifting. It's everything you just described, right? Where sometimes our priorities shift or how we want to take care of ourselves shifts. And if we don't quite have the words around that or the actions around that yet, it's like you said, you have to do some deep work.
Yeah.
And that's where I think this stage of life can be a little uncomfortable and awkward at first because we're feeling that. We're just kind of not sure how to yet deal with it or
Yeah.
what do I need right now? And just as we keep talking, I think that's where we're having these conversations. And and it sounds very fulfilling here, but I am just such a big believer in having coaches and mentors and community at this stage of life. I personally have a strength coach, and I have a business coach, and I have kind of a mindset coach, all at different times, but we can't see our own blind spots often.
Yes.
And we know they're there because we feel it's this kind of
Disconnection.
uncomfortable. Yeah, it's not settled. I know there's something more. I know there's something that's right there. But then through coaching, you get kind of a different perspective. You widen your viewpoint, and then you have someone that holds you to it, right? To that vision, to that
Yep.
goal, with love and support in a plan that fits you. I always joke with my clients, I'm like, okay, I am your GPS. I see our destination. I love it. I'm going to get you there. We're going to avoid the traffic. And if we hit it, we're going to navigate. We're going to have fun on the route. I'll pack the snacks. We got the whole thing, but you are the driver. So we need that communication and that letting go of perfection, but commitment. So I used to be a big on the word discipline, Mindi, and I was like, I'm disciplined. I'm a very disciplined person when I want to be, but that can lead to a lot of inflexibility and not seeing the grace behind or the choice, or I could do A or B or C and still get the same result. So now I attach more to the word devotion because I'm devoted to how I want to feel. But there's many ways that I can, in the day to day, get to that feeling or support my goals and intentions.
Yes.
So I think that's kind of a shift in midlife that I've seen a lot of women go through, is that we kind of can let go of that diet, grit it out, jump on the Peloton for 60 minutes, dripping in sweat, gassed for the rest of the day, cranky. And we can kind of find the fun, the grace, I could do it this way, and I can try it this way. And the whole process then becomes a lot more enjoyable, but a lot more successful too.
Yeah. And I think too, like, we don't have to work harder for that end result. There are other ways we can get to that end result. Like, to me, yesterday I slipped in a 20-minute arm workout and was like, okay, like, I got this.
Done.
It was great. I was like, okay, wasn't planning to do that. And it just worked out that I had the time. I had a cancellation in my schedule, and I was like, perfect, I'm going to go and do this. The modern conveniences that can help us. Like, I have a gym in my basement, and it's great. On my lunch, I can go downstairs and I can do what I got to do. If I was in office every day, I don't know if I would have that dedication because it's a lot more work to get to it, right? It's inconvenient. So I think that people underestimate, not to say that you shouldn't go to a gym. I think that's great. If you've got that ability to go and it works in your time schedule, perfect. But for me, it does not. And then I avoid. So I love that, just meeting people where they're at. There's so much that you can do at home with a set of dumbbells.
Oh my gosh.
Or multiple sets of dumbbells. We also have like a resistance system down there as well, which is great too. But that mindset shift, that inflexibility, they talk about this in Atomic Habits too. You know, that's one of the biggest,
Mindi,
the roadblocks, right?
Yes.
To getting to the obstacles. Yeah. Is that inflexibility. So if you can have that flexibility in your mindset, you're more likely to achieve your goals.
And that you hit it right in the head, like going downstairs and doing a 20-minute arm workout. That is going to fuel energy for you for the rest of the day.
It did. I got so much done yesterday. It was great.
Yeah, and you feel good about it. And I'll be honest, I would say probably, Mindi, 80 to 90% of my clients work out at home with a bench, some dumbbells, some bands. And as we go, sometimes we add some different pieces of equipment because then they get into it and they want to, Black Friday specials. What do you recommend?
Yeah,
we'll build it up, but you don't need anything more than dumbbells and, like, honestly, to start, dumbbells and maybe some bands. And take out the limiting factors. Don't overcomplicate it, right? You don't have to leave your house and go to a gym and add that extra drive time and getting in the locker room and all of the nonsense. And this time of year, the gyms are packed anyway.
Yes.
It can be super simple and you can get amazing results. And that's the other thing too. Gone are the days of working out 7 days a week, 6 days a week. I have clients who do ask for a minimum commitment, 2 strength sessions a week,
Awesome.
2. And then we'll add in some movement, some walking, some steps, some of, the NEAT, the non-exercise thermogenesis, where we're just moving more. That really helps with fat loss. Just an
Hmm.
underrated thing, just moving more throughout your day. Amazing results with 2 focused, consistent strength workouts a week. So just recognizing that we can take off some of these barriers that limit our mindset around starting a program or just committing to a schedule. So there's a lot of room for flexibility built in, which we
Yeah.
need at this stage of life because things
Yes.
happen.
I know my brain is like running wild with I can very visualize people who are going to be listening to what you're saying and they're like 2 days a week. Like I can do 2 days a week.
And then what's so cool is in a couple phases, they're like, can you add a third? I would love
Yeah.
a third. And then it's a choice and they love doing it versus someone who this time of year, again, we're talking about New Year's resolutions and these big overarching goals, and we don't set up the systems and people come in and be like, okay, I want to work out 5 times a week. I want to do this. I'm going to walk 7 days a week and all the things. And I'll be like, okay, let's realistically how many days can you really work out? And let's always start lower because
Hmm.
then you meet your goal and you feel great. If you say you're going to work out 4 days a week when realistically you really only could do 2 at the time, that's going to feel terrible if you only did 2. Where if we say we're going to do 2, you're going to feel great and you'll
Yep.
still get results. So let's start, with the foundational things and then build. And that's where I think in the past, myself included, we can get so caught into the time of year or what everybody else is doing or doing it perfect that we don't recognize what's really realistic or honestly too what's really valuable and important.
Yeah. I think that start smaller, work your
Mhm.
way up. If you start out with 10 minutes, but you decide you want to do 20 minutes or a half an hour, fantastic, even better. But it has to be achievable and it has to be reasonable. Those are huge,
I like
huge.
those 2 words together. Well, unreasonable.
Yep.
And that will compound. And sometimes I think we want these results so fast that I see a lot of women quit right before it all comes together, right? Where
Hmm.
it's like, oh, just hold on because the results are coming. And it's so, I'm very much so grateful that I get to do the work I do because when I see that light bulb moment where it's like they don't worry about the scale as much anymore, but they're sending me flex pictures of their arms. They're like, Amy,
Yeah.
do you see my biceps? I have women I have one of my strength training clients who literally because her ankles were so weak, she had a baby later in life. She went through so much to have her baby, a lot of hormone issues, and then a lot of issues with her pregnancy and the delivery. And she was having a lot of joint issues. So when we first started, she couldn't even pick up dumbbells yet. She was in physical therapy.
Wow.
We started working with bands. She messaged me last week that she's like, because I always ask about wins. 2 big wins were number one, she was able to swoop up with one arm a
Scoop that
temper
baby up.
tantruming 3-year-old and like without even thinking about it, just squatted down, picked her up with one arm and was like on the way.
Yeah.
And then she is now literally deadlifting 250-pound dumbbells in each
Wow.
hand. And like I
Wow.
said, when we first started, we were working with bands because she couldn't even carry dumbbells yet. Is that woman focused on 2 or 3 pounds on the scale? No, she's focused on her quality of life, how good she feels in her workouts. Her energy is so stable now. Where before it was all over the map. She's the one who will send me a picture of her bicep from time to time. And so
I
that's
love
the
it.
wins, right? We want to
Yeah.
feel good in our bodies. We want to feel strong. We want to, like I said, look like we work out. Yes, of course, I'm the same. I want aesthetic goals. I want to feel good in my skin. I want to be confident,
Of
but
course.
also those functional things. You can carry your own groceries. I'm always like, please fill my bags heavier. I don't want
Yeah.
16
Yeah.
bags, right?
Yeah.
And we can go through our days with stamina and energy and just have that vitality throughout our days.
Yes.
So I love seeing women because our 20s and 30s, again, we're often about the scale, right? We always want to be skinnier,
And
focus
that's what I
on the
just want
scale.
to say. Yes, the scale. I feel like that's a big thing. Like I remember when I started lifting weights, panicking as the number was going up. I'm increasing my food because if I get anxious, food is not my friend. So it's like training your brain to, nope, you still need to eat. You still need to nourish. I heard you say don't wait till you're hungry, get something in there. Like, and I'm like,
It gets
okay,
harder to hit our protein targets too. If
yes,
we're only eating 1 or 2 meals, how are
yeah,
we going to logistically get our protein in to support your body, to
yep,
stabilize your blood sugar, and to
yep,
get your healthy fats in too? We used to focus so much on the scale and being skinny. And then we're of the generation of no fat, no
yeah,
carbs, like
yeah.
everything was no, or very, very trendy, very restrictive. And so
And
now I'll
very
see women,
unhealthy, full of
yeah, not healthy.
chemicals. Like, I think back to that, like, oh. So the scale thing is you're building muscle and you're bulking, you're increasing your calories. You're trying to bulk up as you're building muscles, you're increasing your resistance, right?
Mhm.
The scale is going to shift, but I also feel like, if you're taking the progress photos and you're monitoring my body, like I got a butt now. I never had a butt. But my
Right?
weight is pretty consistent still. But I know my body is changing. That's something that I feel you gotta it's very subtle. Like over time, but all of a sudden one day you're like, oh, damn, like
I love these jeans
baby's
on
got a
me.
little back now. Like,
And that feels so good, right?
yeah,
Like that
yeah,
feels good. And I really ask my clients to have a broad array of measures of progress,
yep,
not just the scale, because the
yep,
scale is a dirty liar.
yep.
And we want to, you mentioned progress photos. That's a huge one, especially for women, because oftentimes with the body composition changes that menopause can bring, you will see women carrying a lot more weight in the
Yep.
midsection, a lot more weight under the bra area in the back, and a lot more weight in their face. And that is a sure sign of inflammation and cortisol. So when I see that changing, I'm like, your body is functioning so much better at a core level with your nervous system, with your hormone production, with your insulin sensitivity, that now, once if we can get that somewhat regulated, now your body turns on fat burning and it literally becomes a fat burning machine again. So we have
And
to
the
lay the
muscle,
groundwork.
right? The muscle
Muscle
is
is
the
the
fat
fat burning
burning. Yeah.
machine at
Yeah.
100%. And it allows you to eat more. It allows you to have more carbs. And it honestly gives you the body composition you're looking for by saying you want to be toned anyway. But you mentioned it too many. You just have to be a little more patient with muscle building. You will drop fat at the same time. Your body composition will change, but that's where some consistency and looking at the year kind of as, okay, what phase am I in? How am I going to structure my nutrition? Do I have a big event or a big trip that I want to, kind of use as a little focal point? And so that's where I work with clients too. Let's kind of take a wider view and then we'll break it down from there into where we want to take this. So that's where the fun part comes
Yeah. I love
into.
it.
I think like literally think of yourself like you're sculpting your body. And we do that with different methods, nutrition and the fitness and the strength training and the movement and the nervous system. But it doesn't have to be boring or stagnant. It has different phases. And so we're not always in a diet. I don't like most women anyway, we don't diet at the holidays. That's not
Mm-hmm.
realistic.
Yep.
So let's make sure in the holiday time we're in a nice reverse or maintenance, but you're crushing your workouts because your energy's up. It's working with life and the
Mm-hmm.
cycles of life
Yep.
as a whole, but then working with our midlife bodies in the micro level too. It's really, when you get into it, it can be so rewarding and so enjoyable and empowering. So it can be such an empowering process. Honestly, too many, I feel better now at 50 years old than I did in my 20s. Way better. I
Wow.
have more
And
muscle mass on my
you
body.
look amazing. Like, I look
Thank
at
you.
you and I'm like, she's definitely doing something right. Like, you know
You
what
as
I mean?
well, my dear.
I know that I don't want that to be like cliche or some women might be, I don't know if they're offended by that, but I look at you as somebody who's mentoring people in this realm and coaching them, and you should look like you're following what you're I want to say preaching, but what you're putting out there. I feel like you are your biggest walking advertisement. Like, what is she doing? Like when you got on, I was like, okay, she's arm goals as I prepare for my wedding. I'm like, that's some arm goals right there for my
Your
wedding. Like,
wedding.
I need what she's drinking.
Well, thank you very much because that does mean a lot to me. I will say I am a coach who believes I need to walk my own talk. So I really prioritize, as an entrepreneur, business owner, mom, and all of the things. Days are full still, but I really value my health. And again, I want to be an example for my clients of what works, what does fill these needs as a 50-year-old woman, and that we can feel really good with very targeted work. It doesn't have to take up your whole day, because that's not my whole day. I do love my workouts, but there's times I don't feel like necessarily doing my workout, but I have my plan, so I follow the plan. And I
Cute.
do think it is important for me to be an example. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it. And I'll
no.
be honest too, Mindy, I have not always had the healthiest mindset about my own body or about how to achieve that body. I've been through many stages of being obsessed with the scale, being extremely restrictive, being more that punishment mindset of,
Mhm.
okay, well, you effed that up, so now you better go run 6 miles, and that has taken work. And you mentioned like digging in, and we get into the entanglements. One of my, big passions for doing what I do is my mom had a very severe eating disorder, which I didn't realize growing up. Now I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I see all the signs. And she had that for the majority of her life. And so that healthy eating, that body love, that real recognition of how to do things for health versus to be skinny was not really emulated in my household growing up. So those are things that we want to learn. And there's another real strong why for women at this stage of life too. If you have children in the house, if you have a partner in the house, we can really set the foundation for what health looks like. And I think changing that dynamic from being skinny and being, a certain size to let's be healthy. How do you feel when you eat like that? How do you feel when you move your body? Do you feel better? Yeah. So, okay, let's encourage how we feel and change the conversation around that. I think is really, really important. Getting your children to think, I have two teenage boys, and they were set up with a great foundation when they were babies. But then when they got their driver's license and friends, so if they go and have fast food and they come home and they're not feeling good, that's a conversation that they know they'll have with mom is,
Yep.
how are you feeling? Oh, not good. What did you eat? How
Yep.
did you move your body today? How is your skin looking? So, to kind of change the conversation from our generation where we really were in diet mentality into
And no
health.
conversation about
And no
this. Like, I know
conversation. There you go.
there was no conversation about this. I didn't come from a family that worked out, and I've had to like instill this in myself. I've had to kind of figure this out.
Look
That's
at the
huge.
example you're setting for your children now, which is beautiful. They
I'm
won't have
hoping.
to figure it out, right? And even if they're not doing all the things now, we plant the seeds, right? Just like we'll plant the seeds.
Yeah. In the summer, not so much outside walking as much now, but definitely in the summer, they see mom put
Not
her
in
weighted
Buffalo, New
vest
York,
on.
girl. We are not.
You
I'm
know,
with you.
I don't mind if it's just cold. Like today wouldn't be terrible because it's not like blowing you away windy, I don't think. But, or raining sideways. I won't be doing that. But, I am. I'm putting my weighted vest on. They're watching me head out. What are you doing? Oh, I'm going for a walk. You want to ride your bike while I walk, or you want to walk with me? Let's have at it. We got to move our body. They both got an Apple Watch. How many steps are you at today? Mom has more steps than me. She sure does. So let's get outside and do something. And it's hard. I mean, you sit a lot. You sit for your job. I know I sit for
Mhm.
my job. And I tell people, and I don't do what you do, but I do try to get them thinking outside the box a little bit because I think that's the first step. Vacuum your living room. That's what helped get me some steps in yesterday. I vacuumed my whole house. I didn't run the
Absolutely.
Roomba. I vacuumed the whole house. It's movement. It's going up and down the stairs. It's all those things. And I know we don't talk about this, and I don't know if you have conversations, but bone health, right? Muscle is going to protect your bone health. I know I've started my box jumps. That's another
Plyometric.
layer of this.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Girl, that's such a good point to bring up because muscle is not just an aesthetic. It is very much connected to your bone and joint health, which we all know can really, again, it's related to estrogen. Women talk about frozen shoulder, not recognizing that that's a menopausal symptom. That's
Terrified of
joint
that.
health.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's if you, to prevent that is because that can be a 6 month to a year long process to heal from frozen shoulder. And that impacts
If,
daily life. Yeah, right.
if,
So that's where muscle will help your joint health, your bone health, your memory, and your cognition. It is so much about your metabolism, right? Where women are like, oh, my metabolism's broken. Well, let's change the perspective on that. Every metabolism can be down regulated or up regulated. So
Hmm.
let's turn the dial the other direction. And it's really good for your nervous system to have more muscle, your immune health.
Heart,
So it's
your heart
heart
health.
health, all of it. So I think to recognize that these little deposits to get to the muscle will really reap so many more benefits too. So muscle is longevity. That's one thing that I definitely believe in. But yeah, right,
Yeah,
like
I
just to do
agree.
some box jumps or even little if you have some joint issues right now, little pogo hops, a big just
Okay.
where you mentioned the weighted vest,
Oh yeah.
where a little resistance and how doing your resistance training can be so impactful in keeping off osteoporosis, osteopenia, or if you already have been diagnosed with that, stopping it in its tracks right away.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's, again, will impact your quality of life. I'm sure we all know someone who's fallen. And that was kind of usually what happens is a fall is then the downslide into very serious health issues and loss of independence and mobility. And that's not what
Absolutely.
we want, ladies.
Buffalo, New York is not set up for the loss of the ability to drive. We do not
Oh my
have
gosh, no, no.
transit that's necessarily getting you everywhere from the suburbs into the city. I mean, it's no, not ideal.
We want to protect our independence, right? For as long as we can. And I've seen what the others, by not taking care of ourselves, I've seen how that impacts not only the person but the caregivers. And that is a whole cycle and very, very stressful. So let's make the deposits now. So number one, we feel good in the moment, but then we're also making those daily deposits where we really feel so much better. And just
Yes.
a quick point, Mindy, too, about
Yeah.
we talked about joint health. That's another area where I think sometimes women, because we are in that diet mentality, the snack well cookie, the low fat everything, where we kind of fear healthy fats and that fat will make
Mhm.
us fat.
Mhm.
And, I'll have women come in and they're maybe eating 20 grams of healthy fats a day. And that is going to really ignite brain fog even more and
Inflammation. Yep.
joint issues. And like, for women too, our hair starts to thin at this stage of life, our
Yes,
nails
it
get
does.
brittle, our skin health. So these are things, these little things. Eat more healthy fats. I really recommend from the majority of my clients, minimum of 55 grams of healthy fats a day. Get your chia, your flax, your hemp seeds. Those are so good for estrogen metabolism too. Your avocado, your hummus, your oils, your nuts, your seeds, but we kind of fear those. I came from a Weight Watchers background, so that was too many
Mhm.
points. So I would never eat those things. I'd much rather have an entire box of 1 point bars, right? Because I could just
Yep.
shovel them in.
Yep.
But I've really changed my whole perspective going through more of a holistic route to eat those healthy fats and enjoy them. You're going to feel more satiated and you're
Yes.
just supporting your body. Those are your hormone production, your hormone support as well.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's everything. We have our nuts in the pantry, and I'll pull them out and take some handfuls of them, and get your ground chia and flaxseed. Put that in the protein shake. I love a good protein shake because I can pack it full of all kinds of good stuff.
It's easy, right?
It's
And then you can
easy,
take it
right?
out the
It's
door if you need to,
I had
or
that
to your
right
desk.
before we got on. I was like, let me get this in. And then when we're done, I'll go have my like after snack or, I'll have my like Greek yogurt and an apple and like some nuts and keep getting that stuff in like throughout the day. You got to do what you got to do. I did want to take a moment and definitely touch base on peptides because I feel like peptides are
It's a
all the
hot
rage.
topic.
I know I'm into peptides. I have definitely gone down that rabbit hole. Let's hear a little more about this.
Awesome. It's such a pertinent topic, my friend, because obviously it's all over social media and
It
we
is.
all know someone who is taking a GLP-1. And so this is where my brain started going. And this is about 2 years ago now. I started to work with a lot of my nutrition and strength clients that through other means were getting on a GLP-1. What's happened is that a lot of times through different, and it depends, right? I'm not going to put a blanket statement out there, but from what I've seen, the majority of people who've been put on a GLP-1 are not getting quality nutrition and lifestyle support to accompany it. And that's where some of the more serious detrimental effects can come. Because if we're just dropping weight, a large part of that weight can come from your muscle mass if you're not getting your protein in because you have no appetite, or you're not even aware that that's important, right, to
Yep.
have, or you're not also strength training at the same time.
Yes.
There's also, it's, I think things have gotten a little better now where people are more educated on the side effects. But I've had women who are so tired the day of their shot, they can't work out for 2 days after, or who have extreme nausea or constipation. So it's impacting their quality of life and then their ability to keep up with other healthy habits. So we might be dropping weight, but we're not instilling any other healthy habits so that if you do come off of the GLP-1 medication, you have now downregulated your metabolism because you've lost muscle mass. You're eating 800 calories a day, which is usually carbs
Nothing.
because you're nauseous.
Yep.
So I got very passionate about wanting to learn more, number one, because this is going to be the future, right? Peptides are going to be the future. And then how do we support women who are taking them to get the best results with the minimum dosing and with the minimum amount of side effects? And that really comes down to a lot of lifestyle activities, because peptides can be, I think there's so many camps out there of, oh, women should never take them to lose some weight, or they should only be for this. Let's just kind of get rid of the judgment because
Mm-hmm.
they're here. Let's figure out how we can use them best and and make it a choice. Like if you want to use a peptide, let's optimize it and let's release the shame and judgment around it, and let's
Mm-hmm.
get you the best results possible on it and to feel your best for health reasons.
Yes.
So for perimenopausal, menopausal women, a GLP-1 or a dual agonist, which is a GLP-1 with a GIP, that's going to be your tirzepatide. A little
Okay.
less side effect there too. Those, if we just can do a microdose, which, usually you start at a dose of like 2.5. If we really even cut that dose in half and do 2 shots and do a microdose, I've seen amazing results for women where they're
Wow. Okay.
getting rid of that puffiness, that visceral fat, which is that fat that's under the
Mm-hmm.
organs
Yep.
that makes you feel really shitty, to be honest. And it also tells your body to keep spinning out more inflammation. So I've seen women have some great results with that. It just turns down the food noise a little bit instead of
Mm-hmm.
completely
Yep.
shutting down your appetite as well. So I think we really have to be cognizant of how we use them, and then, but more importantly, what lifestyle practices are we putting into place to support the best results for our body, not just weight loss. And then
Yeah.
to kind of expand the scope, we talk about peptides and the first thing that comes to mind are GLP-1s. But what is so cool is there are so many more options out there
Yep.
that again serve some really special needs for women over 40 that can come in and really help support us. Let's say that we have all of our lifestyle in place, but we're still dealing with some symptoms, or we have an injury, or we have this nagging shoulder thing going on. Well, there's some peptides out there that are going to ignite your healing in such a shorter time period and really help your quality of life. So why wouldn't we want to use peptides in that way? But what I'm super passionate about, number one, get coaching with them.
Yep.
Because if you're
Do
going to make that
research.
investment in a
Yep.
peptide, which they're not cheap, right?
Nope. They're
Get the
very costly.
coaching and do the lifestyle. Do it
Yep.
all together. Make the commitment and get someone who knows what they're talking about and who has a
Mm-hmm.
passion for it, and then get it from a quality source. So, something I did a lot of research on, like for a full year almost, was finding a medical provider to partner with that's going to look at your health history and do you have any contraindications, right? Do you have
Yes.
something
Because
that,
there's risk, right? Just like anything that you would
yes,
take, peptides are something our body is made up of. And as we age, they decrease.
mm,
I know I'm a special population being a 2-time cancer survivor. But one thing I was dealing with was leaky gut. Well, I was on antibiotics forever. And I feel like perimenopause also impacts your gut. So I did like
100%.
a gut healing protocol of peptides. And I did that because you cycle it. So I did it for 2 months and we definitely went down the rabbit hole. And I feel like things are better. I think it did improve things. I feel like my skin got better. I feel like my stomach is feeling better. And your gut is your second brain.
Mm,
So some of these might not be a GLP-1. What I did was not a GLP-1, but very beneficial. And then you hear great things too about topical, right? That's another
yes.
one. Just
As women too, our skin elasticity changes and we want to feel youthful and feel confident. And so if
yeah.
there's these things available that can support us there, we're just supporting the aging process is how I look at it,
Yep.
right? We're not
Soften it.
trying to
Just want to
reverse it.
soften.
Yeah, just
Yep.
soften. I like that, Mindy.
Yep.
But yeah, it's really powerful. And I think, like you said, it can get to some real root cause things because peptides are like messengers in your body. And as
Hmm.
we age, things get turned down or turned off. Peptides come in and like a key and they turn things on or back up a little bit that are natural functions in the body. It's not like a medicine that creates its own different pathway. It really supports the body in its own functioning. And that's where I think there's so much potential here.
Oh,
But
yeah.
again, quality source. And like I said, I work with a medical partner who's going to look at your health history
Hmm.
from a licensed compounding pharmacy. So you know what you're getting instruction, you're knowing your proper dosing for you as an individual. And then you have the back end of the coaching element. So I
The
give my
support
clients
all
if
the
they're on
way.
a GLP-1, okay, day of shot, we do this. This is your protein goal. We're going to strength train. We're going to keep our energy up. We're going to avoid constipation by XYZ. So it's really having these conversations. And what's cool is honestly, the women who I've had start peptides are usually using something a little bit different right now, not the GLP ones, and they're having amazing results.
I love
But
it. Oh
it's
my gosh, it's
really,
great.
I think it's going to be so much more emerging in our medical field and in functional nutrition and functional health. But just again, advocate for yourself, get the education. It's not something that should be like popping candy either. It should
Well,
be taken seriously.
yeah, you see in these, I see in like mom groups, like, okay, and I'm a licensed esthetician too. I don't work in the field anymore, but I maintain that license. So I'm getting things from the Department of State about all these like med spas that are causing like severe injuries to people. I hate it when I see in these mom groups, where are we going? Where's the cheapest Botox? I'm like, nope, your face
Not
and your
something you want to
body,
get
that
the
is.
cheapest of.
And I found you through Andrea, so a common
Yeah.
source. She's fabulous. And, no, you get what you pay for. Sadly, there are some things that you're not looking for the dollar store version of. That is not how this works. You are making an investment in your body and in your health. And I'm not saying that the most expensive is the best, but you need to be dealing with a licensed provider. You need to be dealing with a coach who knows peptides and knows what they're talking about, and you need to have the whole package. It's not worth it to put your life at risk for the cheapest price out there.
Exactly. And to lose a few pounds, right? And I think it's trust, having someone you trust in your corner. And I feel, I mentioned I'm a big believer of having coaches. It's like we need our own little, as midlife women, we need an
We
entourage,
do.
right? Your esthetician, but it's people that you trust and that who really care about you as an individual and who know what they're talking about and who walk their talk too, who are getting the certifications and getting the education and doing the
Trainings.
deep
Yep.
work, not just jumping on the bandwagon to make a quick buck. And so that's something I really caution women is just be mindful of the source and just what is their vantage point, right? What is that person, your sources, where are they coming from with this? What is their background? So just with
How long have they
anything,
been
right? Do your
doing this?
research.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
exciting though. I will say it's very, just a quick example, like my husband has a partial tear in his rotator cuff and we're just definitely not going down the surgery route. And he is also a cancer survivor, Mindy. So we have to be very careful, right? If you're a cancer survivor, you don't want a growth hormone. And that's what these things we have to monitor. But Mark was given permission to go on by his oncologist, the BPC 157, TB
Mm-hmm.
500, which I'm
Yep.
wondering if, that's similar for you because it's so good for gut health.
That's what I did for
And
gut health. Yes.
yeah, it's great for gut health, great for skin, great for anti-inflammatory, great for healing, especially tendons and ligaments, which can be extremely long healing process, post-surgery, things like that. But within 2 weeks, and again, this is an individual case and not medical advice.
But I've heard of
However,
this.
yeah, I've seen some really powerful things. And especially for women who tend to have these nagging injuries that then limits you in the gym, it can really be a game changer. But within 2 weeks, he couldn't like bring his arm back. He's doing more stuff in the gym and feeling a difference in his mobility in 2 weeks of a protocol. And something else, Mindy, that you had mentioned that I wanted to just make a point of too. You mentioned cycling. And that's something else I don't see a lot of women understanding or doing with peptides. peptides work best in cycles. So, and it depends on the peptide, it depends on you as an individual, but often it's on for 8 weeks and then off for 8 weeks, for example, because we want your body, it's almost like you're just kind of pumping the well for your body to start doing this again. Give it time, let's see what the body does. And then if you need to go back on another course again, but it's this ebb and flow. It's not a constant necessarily. And again, individual situations can be a little different, but it's really good to have someone who understands those things. Like you mentioned that cycling works best, honestly.
Yep. Yeah, I'm starting to do I got a copper peptide that I'm going to add to a hyaluronic acid, and I'm going to do a topical, and I'm going to see how that goes. I've been kind of
Oh, I'm
reading up
excited
on
to hear
it.
about that, Mindy.
Yeah, so I'm going to see how that goes. I know some, because people are like, well, what's the difference if it's like something that's already in it? And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like this is going to be a little bit more powerful. It's topical, so it's not going to mess with systemic levels. But copper is very healing. And obviously, too much of anything is not okay. But so I've read up on that a little bit, and I'm just kind of curious. I've had that fun perimenopausal acne, so I feel like this will be something that'll be good for my skin. And yeah, little investment.
For a little brightening too, a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
glow. We want a little glow, right? So,
yep.
and
Oh
that's
yeah.
where again, we're going back to that word fun. Have some fun with all of this, but
Mm-hmm.
prioritize yourself. Prioritize how you want to feel in your body, in your skin, literally and figuratively.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it can really be a cool process, and to not feel like you had mentioned, oh, aging is just going to be a decline. It doesn't have to be a decline at all. It's going to be a shift, yes, but it
Yes.
doesn't have to be a bad shift. It can just be different. So
You don't have to be 50 and look 50. So you're from the Golden Girl era, like I
right,
was.
yes.
And I always thought they were so much older. I was in awe of learning their actual ages at one point in time. And now we see the Marissa Tomei's and the
Jennifer
J-Lo's,
Aniston,
and
J
Jennifer
Lo, yeah.
Aniston. Yeah, we see these women 50, 60 plus, and they look phenomenal. And there's something to that. There's something about taking care of yourself, hydrating, eating right, the foundational things, the working out. I mean, obviously, these are also people who have probably endless bank accounts,
Talk about
but
an
I
entourage,
think
right? They have the
for
entourage.
the layman, average person, I call myself a peasant. I'm the peasant out in the breeze, just like everybody else. And if I can do these things, you can do these things.
Because it doesn't have to, you don't have to start with peptides, right? You start
No.
with going for a walk.
Yes.
And then we build from there. And it can be, again, very an engaging process.
Yes.
I'm really loving this stage of life right now. Yes, are there challenges? And we can have these conversations about the brain health, right? Like trying to think of a word or somebody's name. I used to be
Oh,
so
yeah.
good at names.
I'm terrible.
Mindy too. This is a big one for me. I'm just going to put it out there because I haven't even admitted it to myself yet, but I cannot read at night anymore. I've never had glasses or contacts in my life,
There.
and
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get readers. I'm just going to put it out there to everybody. I'm going to have to get readers, and it's going to be a little bit of an ego thing for that because my husband's had them for a while, and I always joke, but now I'm going to
You're
need readers.
welcome to the club. I have my contacts in. I got my readers over there. I was like, I should be good right now. But, by the end of the night, I'm fatigued and I
Yes,
need the readers. Yeah.
me
Yeah.
too. I'm going to
But
go there.
it's okay. It's okay.
I'm going to get cute
Whip them
ones.
out, get some cute ones. You will be fine. You do not look 50. You are good. Like, continue onward.
Continue.
So I love it. This has been great. I think you're amazing. I love the work that you're doing, and I really think you're making a difference in so many women's lives. And I want to strongly encourage you to continue doing what you're doing. And I know that this is going to help so many people. And you're going to get some phone calls and some emails probably after this episode airs.
Thank you so much, Mindy. I'm so grateful to have these conversations, and you are a absolute ray of light and just shining so much information, knowledge, conversation, genuineness to midlife women. And we both live in the same area, but then
Yes.
obviously the podcast expands so much farther. So thank you for taking that opportunity, seeing a need and bringing it to all of us, and for
Yes.
having me on today. I just enjoyed this
Thank
conversation.
you. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And I look forward to doing more work with you in the future. This will not be our last conversation.
Love it. I feel like we could talk forever, and there's more to get to.
Oh, that just means there'll be another episode.
Let's do it.
All right. We'll do. All right. Thank you. Have a good night. We'll talk soon. Okay. Bye. Before we wrap up, I just want to share a quick reminder. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice or mental health treatment. If you are struggling or in need of support, please reach out to a licensed professional or healthcare provider. Hope to see you soon. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And also, if you loved this episode, please leave us a review. See you soon.